The Dixon 25-ton ram is a freestanding machine that produces up to 10,000 psi of line pressure for up to 25 tons of ram force, capable of external swedging 1/4 through 4-inch ID hose and internal expanding 5/8 through 4-inch ID hose with the proper equipment. The motor is a half horsepower, 115 volt 60 cycle, single phase with a foot pedal. Before you can use your 25-ton ram, there are a few things that need to be done. Check the fluid level in the pump. The fluid should be 1 inch below the fill hole. Place the pump in the back of the ram with the hose exiting from the rear. This will counter the weight and keep the ram from flipping forward when it's in the swedging position. Hook up the hose to the cylinder with the quick disconnect that is supplied. You will then need to cycle the machine several times until the cylinder stops bouncing. This will bleed any excess air out of the cylinder. Let's begin with setting the ram into the swedging position. Loosen the large 1-inch nut on left side. Do the same for the opposite side as well. Then push the ram upright in the vertical position. Once the ram is vertical, you can begin to tighten the large 1-inch nut. Insert the safety bolt and repeat on the other side. Loosen the keeper plates on the bed plate and slide them out of the way.
Insert the proper die holder into the bed plate.
If multiple die holders are used, the die halves should be turned 90 degrees from each other as shown here. Slide the keeper plates back into position. Be sure to keep them out of the opening. There are two options for installing the pusher hat. Option 1, for putting the pusher hat on the pusher plate, requires you to place a smaller die into the die holder. Place the hat onto the die, paying attention to the bolts that are welded onto the pusher hat. Line up the bolt threads to the holes in the pusher plate. Lower the cylinder down about 1 inch from the welded bolts. Stop the cylinder and place it in the hold position. Lift the hat slightly into position without running the cylinder all the way down. Then carefully lower the cylinder down with the pump in the hold position. Twist the 2 wing nuts tightly and release the machine from the hold position. Option 2 requires you to physically lift the pusher hat onto the pusher plate. Once the plate is in position, tighten the wing nuts. Install the adapter plate into the pusher hat and snug the set screw with the Allen wrench. Remove the Allen wrench. We have selected our die for this and the particular hose OD, and we are now going to lubricate the die halves and the entire outside of the ferrule as well. Dixon recommends using Crisco for lubrication. Insert the hose and fitting from the bottom of the die bed. Carefully insert each die half, holding the bottom of the hose. Keep upward pressure applied as you lower the cylinder. Carefully guide the stem into the adapter plate hole. As the cylinder presses down on the die bed, twist the hose assembly back and forth until you can't twist it any longer. Once it stops twisting, you can let go of the hose. Continue until the pusher adapter hits the dies and then stop. Place a rag over your hand under the base of the die and wiggle the hose to break the die halves free. Slowly lift the hose assembly upwards. As the ferrule breaks loose, remove each half of the die. Clean the grease off the die halves and the ferrule. When swedging cam and groove type C, place a mark on the ferrule to correspond with turned over portion. Then twist the ferrule. The mark will indicate the turned over portion has moved. Always remove the gasket. Place the assembly in the die bed and insert the proper pusher into the coupler. Bring the ram down until the cylinder meets the pusher. Continue into the die until the locking ears almost contact the die and then stop. To prepare the 25-ton ram for internal expansion mode, you will need to remove the pusher hat and pusher adapter. Loosen the keeper plates and remove the die holders. Install the half-inch retaining bolt into the pusher plate. Only insert the retaining bolt about an inch into the plate. Slide the keeper plates out of the way. Install the cage with the slot grooved top pointing up. Holding the top portion of the posts, lower the cage into place and slide it over the retaining bolt using the slot cut into the center as shown here. Stand in front of the ram and place one foot on the crossbar closest to you. Place your knee under the cage and lift up. Then, tighten the bolt by hand until it's snug. Use a wrench to completely tighten the bolt. Install the die holder DH9004. Loosen the retaining collar and allow the guide plate to slide down and fit into the die holder. Secure the die holder and the guide plate with the keeper plates. Slide the keeper plates over the die holder and the guide plate and then tighten the keeper plate bolts in a star pattern evenly or the ram will jam on return. There are two options for setting the ram up for internal expansion. Option 1 is to install the 45-degree angle bracket. Loosen the left 1-inch nut and remove the safety bolt. Repeat for the opposite side. Carefully lower the ram until it rests on the bracket. Option 2 is not to install the 45-degree bracket, but instead lower the ram until it comes to rest on the rubber bumper. You are now ready to internally expand. Before you begin, make sure the ram is fully retracted. Select the proper pull rod. Screw the short threaded end of the rod into the faceplate. Screw it in all the way so that it is flush. If there is no play in the rod, back it off a quarter turn to aid in self-alignment. Select the corresponding adapter plate for the size and type of fitting you are installing. Assuring the recesses are facing outward towards the operator, slide the adapter plate over the pull rod until it reaches the base of the cage. Tighten the set screws to secure the adapter. Extend the cylinder out with the pump in the hold position. Lubricate the ID of the stem and the OD of the corresponding IX plug with Crisco. Slide the stem over the pull rod and into the recess of the adapter plate with the connection side facing the ram. Slide on the IX plug, small end first, onto the pull rod and into the shank of the stem. Screw on the retaining nut until it makes contact with the plug. Accurately measure the hose OD with the Dixon diameter tape. Select the correct IX ferrule from the DPL based upon the hose OD just measured. Slide the ferrule over the hose until the turned end of the ferrule contacts the end of the hose. Place a mark on the hose at the junction of the ferrule and hose. Move the ferrule away from the hose end 1/4 inch and place another mark at the junction of the hose and ferrule. This will ensure that the proper rubber displacement or pocket is maintained during the expansion process. Here is the proper 1/4 inch space needed to properly internal expand. Slide the hose with the ferrule end over the shank until the ferrule contacts the shoulder of the stem. Make sure you align the ferrule with the second mark. While holding the hose and ferrule firmly against the stem shoulder, engage the ram by stepping on the foot pedal.
As the cylinder presses down on the adapter, twist the ferrule back and forth until you can twist it no longer. Once it stops twisting, you can let go of the hose. This ensures a snug fit. The internal expansion operation is complete when the hose and stem assembly is pushed completely over the internal expansion plug. Do not stand directly in front of the machine. The assembly may bounce violently.
This concludes our video on the 25-ton Ram. For more information, consult your manual or contact Dixon Valve for more information.